Welcome back, Agiteers. Yet another update on the dilated cardiomyopathy situation. I'm going to talk about a couple of things today. How I'm doing. I'm going to talk about a friend of a friend who is 21 years old and was just diagnosed with right ventricle dilated cardiomyopathy. So a little bit different than what I have. I have left ventricle dilated cardiomyopathy. So, how have things been? Well, I would like to say wonderful, but I'm just watching a very, very slow decline of my capabilities, and I found that it's getting more and more difficult to keep water weight off, and it basically only takes one meal. Even a salad, I have to watch out for the grilled chicken, make sure they don't add any salt. The cheese I have to be really careful about. I have to be careful about the salad dressing. Even 300 or 400 milligrams of sodium in a meal, and I'll gain a pound. If it has more than that, and you know how it is, you go out to a restaurant and you get a salad and it's like 2 grams of sodium, I will gain 2 to 3 pounds, and before I could get it off quickly, and now I can't. How do I know how I'm doing? Well, originally I was on a pill called Lasix, which is a water pill, which basically means you take it and you pee a lot to get the water off. Originally I didn't have to take it, I only took it as needed, and then I had to take it every day. And then I switched over to torsemide, which is much more potent, 20 milligrams daily. Last 4 or 5 days it hasn't been enough, so I've been up to 40 milligrams daily until I get my weight down at least 3 to 4 more pounds. But I had 2 meals that were not unhealthy: grilled chicken, some rice, salad in both cases. The problem is you don't even necessarily taste the sodium, especially for those who add salt to their meals, but it's there, and it makes me gain 2 to 3 pounds in one sitting. So on Monday I'm going to have to report all this. I may or may not have already put this video up, I'm really not sure. I won't be doing much editing on it. I'm going to have to report this. If I get 4 pounds in one day, there is a chance I'll have to go to the hospital. And I forgot to mention what dilated cardiomyopathy is for those of you who are watching. Dilated cardiomyopathy is a swelling, distension of the heart where the heart wall muscles weaken and the heart becomes enlarged and cannot pump as well. In my case, my condition was caused, it's genetic, and it probably developed when I was very young, before birth or shortly thereafter. Knowing everything I know now, I would honestly say it makes perfect sense, because I never could really run long distances or do a dash or any of that without being very short of breath. And even when I was in my 20s, I had a problem just basically walking at a high speed, and I thought, I must just be out of shape, but that wasn't what it was. So anyway, with this torsemide dose I'm on, 40 milligrams, I'm going to have to report that my weight loss is really not working out, and they may want me to come in and work to getting some water off with intravenous torsemide doses, which is much more potent. The good news about that is I get it off. The bad news is, according to my doctor who I saw a couple weeks back, the more often I have to come in to the hospital to get this water off will basically indicate that it's time to go ahead and move forward with getting the left ventricle assist device, which is a pump that I would wear the computer and batteries on the outside of my body, and I would have what they call a drive line that goes into my chest, and it actually will have It's like a tiny little turbine that will force and push the blood up through the left ventricle. So I'm hoping there's nothing terrible that happens and it's just a slow progression, because I've enjoyed the summer so far. At this point, I can't do anything anything that requires me to stand up or do, significant activity. It is very difficult now. So it takes quite a bit of energy, and I huff and puff. Even just walking from the car to the kitchen. Some days are better than others, I'll say that. And then on another day I could go, for a short walk, 5 or 10 minutes. Later today I'm going to walk in the backyard, even though I don't want to. And it makes me uncomfortable, but physical activity is critical. I have a fly eating my leg. How annoying. Anyway. Physical activity is critical to the well-being of my whole body and actually my heart as well. So I'm going to continue with that. And it does slow down the progression of the disease. At least for me it did. Some of the things that have helped me are activities, mental activities, stay active, do things, go places. Even if you have a handicap and you're not able to do everything you could, you have to push. My doctor herself said that most of the people who are younger push themselves and tend to live longer lives, healthier lives, or need a heart transplant later in life instead of earlier. So I'm 50 and pretty much need a heart transplant, but I can live on the LVAD for a while. Some people live 10 years, and that's okay. I would love to have a heart transplant, but I am going to accept the LVAD because my only option is death, and I still have a good time with what I do in life, and I really enjoy the time I have left. So I don't want to squander it. Now, what I was talking about earlier, that there was a friend of a friend. This friend has right ventricle issues with dilated cardiomyopathy, which is much more rare than what I have, which is non-compaction left ventricle dilated cardiomyopathy. So mine, because it's non-compaction, is rare, but his, because it's right ventricle, is even more rare. The treatments are very similar, and prognosis is very similar. Now, I don't know his doctors or any other information about him. His parent contacted me and asked me some questions and how I live with it and what I'm doing. Dog hair. They watched my videos and thought it would be a good idea to contact me and see if I could be of any help. Now, for me, as I said before, I found being active and doing things a key. Would I have done things differently if I was 21 and knew what I knew today? I would say, I want to say yes. Darn fly. I want to say yes, but you know how it is. People will be seeking treatment for their addictions and die from it at the same time, because quite frankly it's an addiction. So I enjoy the taste of food. I used to love salt. Get him, Pix. Just trying to get that fly for me. Good girl, Pix. Did you eat it? Yeah, addictions are difficult, and in my position, and pretty much anybody else, you gravitate to comfort food, or some people drink alcohol, some people smoke, marijuana, whatever. In carefully dosed amounts, it's really not a problem, but when it consumes and takes over your life, it's an issue. So I'm trying to use activities, doing things I love, even if I'm severely limited, I actually went ahead and camped and went and did dispersed camping, which basically means you drive way out into a state or national forest, and he's back. And you are 10 or 12, 15 miles away from anybody. So I did go with my friend. Felicia went with me, and this time I was unable to do almost anything. So I couldn't help set up the tent, I couldn't roll out the sleeping bags, couldn't do any of that stuff. So there's no way I could do it alone, and it probably isn't the wisest thing for me to go and do that, because quite frankly, 15 miles away from a hospital, 20 miles away, getting an ambulance there, they couldn't go through the 2 tracks, it'd have to be a 4-wheel drive. I'd be dead before they could get there. My device will shock me 4 times to bring my heart back, but if it's not responding after that, it will use its humane setting and stop trying to give me therapy and let me go, which I'm okay with, because the shocks are not all that great. Anyway, this 21-year-old is having a hard time dealing and coping with the concept that he has a terminal condition. And to him, I would say, you know, when we're born, we all have terminal conditions, and we really don't know how long our life is going to last. I had a friend who was 21 who died in a terrible car crash. I read a story about somebody with our condition who died when she was 10 years old going down a water slide because it was undiagnosed. So I think about all that stuff, and I think about the fact that I got to 50 years old and I'm still kicking, and might make it much longer with the LVAD, and even longer with a heart transplant. And there's so many things I can do. When I was 21, I had already had my first child. I may have had the second one, I can't remember. No, I just had the first one, Carter. I would have been very dogged and determined to stay healthy, continue doing activities that I liked, do everything that I can that I'm capable of doing, because it's that important. And if I was 21 and didn't have children, and you know, there was the thought of raising a family. Now, I don't know your exact condition personally, but most of the time, properly diagnosed dilated cardiomyopathy is treatable. So it's not like you're going to be in big trouble by tomorrow. You could live decades without needing the types of treatment that I've had. Think about that. So you're 21. If you made it to 50 or 60 before you needed major treatment like what I'm looking at, that's a long time. That's a long time, longer than you've been alive. And you have to look forward to those things you could do, you know? Possibly, depending on who you are, getting married, having children, traveling the world, getting a degree, seeing things you've never seen before. I have actually done some traveling, and I'm so glad I did. One of which was just recently, this summer. Felicia and I took off, and we went to the Grand Canyon. It's on my bucket list, and I thought, I really should go. I was afraid, but, you know, she was with me, and I was able to still drive, so I could share the driving, and driving's easy for me. I can actually do that because it's more sedentary, so sedentary activities are not that difficult for me. The good news is when I do exercise carefully in light doses, the next day it's a little bit easier for me to exercise. So the minute I become fully sedentary, sitting around, not doing the physical things I could do, That's when I get in trouble. Now, of course, my heart is in decline, so it's gotten to the point where I might need a major boost here and may have to get the LVAD. Speaking of which, if I do have to get the LVAD, I've given somebody the password to my YouTube account, and they can use anything, any camera, any phone, take a video, and they'll give you an update of what's going on. Because it might be an all of a sudden thing, or it might be a I'm going to go get this surgery. Survival rate with the LVAD over 80%, and it's better than 0, better than 20. You know, so I have a device in me right now. Many of you know I've had it for over 10 years. My internal cardiac device, which I've got a newer one that paces me all the time, and it gave me quite a bit of energy. So it's definitely changed things for me. I think if I was still on the old device, I would be having a hard time. The old device did shock me once. It was anticlimactic, that first shock. I understand they get progressively worse, but I'll take it. I don't want to get shocked. I'm afraid of it. I get anxiety at night. Sometimes I'm scared, and I have to take medicine to calm me down. Last night was one of those days. And I'll do what I have to do to maintain my sanity and get through each of the days. And you have to do that too. Because you are young, you have a long time yet, and your health is critical. So being careful. My suggestions are, do not drink excessively. Some drinks are fine. Try to get exercise daily, even if it's only a walk for 20 or 30 minutes. And if you can't do that much, don't. Do what you're able to do. One of the times I went to Walmart, and I had to get one of the motorized carts because I was right at the edge, and I simply I was unable to walk anymore. So I got a motorized cart. I like walking, but I probably can't do more than 15 minutes, so I'm going to walk with somebody. And more than likely what I'll do from now on is take a wheelchair with me and just push it along, and when I get too tired, I'll take a seat and I'll be with somebody, and they'll have to assist me and give me a push to get back home. I don't want to be caught in the middle of the road and end up having to sit on the curb, or God forbid call 911 to get an ambulance to bring me home. So I'm trying to think about things in my head, like how can I continue to get activity without putting myself at major risk. One of my favorite things to do right now is go out back here and walk the yard, and I try to get at least 1,500 steps in per miniature walk, and I will do 1 to 2 of those. And if I don't go to the gym and do some very light weights, because that's about all I can do now, I get out there and walk. Now, you're younger, so to you you may be laughing right now. He goes out there and he walks for 10 minutes? What a joke. Hey, it's keeping me alive, and it's keeping me out of the hospital. So definitely is worthwhile. And if I were 21 and knew all these things, I think I would have changed how I would have handled it and what I would have done to extend my life. But more than that, extend my quality of life, because that's probably more important. I did have one doctor mention, would you rather have a year of quality life or 2 years of life? I knew what he was asking me. And it didn't take me very long to answer 1 year of quality life. And it's something I think about, but I also think that I'm able to do some of the things to extend my life despite this defect in my heart being genetic. So I do all I can do. I don't stay at home and sit in a chair all day, although I like to. I try to go places and do things. I try to visit people and have friends over. That's one of my favorite things. Family comes over. I really like that. I'm going to call my son after I get off the camera here. It's so important to keep doing things that are not just physically stimulating, but mentally stimulating as well. I've probably said that enough times. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Always try. You cannot let this kind of thing keep you down, especially when you have decades of healthy life yet. Decades. Think about that. Think all the things that could change. You could go visit Africa, South America, Europe. You could do all these cool things. You could go to Egypt or something, you know? I'm so fortunate that I got to travel. And I'm really glad that I was able to do that. Even though my health wasn't A1 and I already had limitations, I accepted those and still did what I wanted to do. So I guess the bottom line is, don't let this keep you down. Don't let this stop you from doing what you want to do. And hold your head up and be strong. We all have weak times. There's days when I've cried over this stuff. There's days when I've needed medicine to help me out a little bit. I'm still here though, and hearing your story actually helped me. And those of you who write in telling me about what's going on in your life, that those have heart problems or dilated cardiomyopathy, I love it. I really do. And also, of course, for all of you who make comments on the videos and give me your support, that means more than anything. Trust me. It's one of the only reasons I keep doing the videos. I do enjoy doing them, but what I really like is that I feel like I've impacted some people, and I didn't realize, you know, you forget when you see all the bad stuff out in the world, how much positivity there is out there. So thank you very much, everybody, for the comments. And to my friend out there with right ventricle dilated cardiomyopathy, keep it up, man. You're going to live a long time. You're going to have a long life. You're going to do a lot of fun things. And, God willing, I'll be here with my new heart or my LVAD to cheer you on. Thank you for watching. This video was made possible with support from viewers like you. If you find this video useful, consider becoming a patron for as little as $1 a month at patreon.com/fastgadgets.